Welcome back to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast, and as always, good people, I am in airplane mode. All right, gang, let's get into it because we got a lot to get into. Hang on a sec, this background's bothering me. I'm about to change it real quick because it's just. I actually really love this background, but it's got a lot going on for the mood I'm in right now. It's just kind of a lot. Let's try to calm me down. Let's do some contrast. Let's contrast angry ranting with beautiful serene beach. All right. All right, gang. We got a lot to talk about. And today I'm really talking. We got some shit to get into. But before we do, the executive producer of this show, Pragmatic Crystal, said I need to show y'all this.
There's 1,000 of you. I said close them doors.
Close them doors.
Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. There's 1,000 of you.
God damn it, I said close the door. Close them doors.
Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors.
Damn, how many times I gotta say it?
There's 1,000 of you. I said close.
I don't know. That is the boy Marvin Sapp, also known as Pastor Marvin Sapp. Never would have made it. That's that's Marvin Sapp. Like, I never would have made it as a damn singer. That's why my ass plays drums. All right, all right, y'all. So he wasn't done with what he wanted. The people had not sufficiently fattened up that calf. There was not enough ducats in the collection plate, and so he told the ushers to close the damn doors. He was not playing around. No exit. But speaking of no exit, y'all, that is what we are here to discuss. Okay? All right. So the way I'm gonna set this up is I'm gonna just put it out there because we just gonna be talking tonight. We just gonna be talking. This is the way I'm feeling right now. You know, every once in a while, I think on this channel, I have to check in with like the mission statement. Like, what the fuck are we doing? And I remember it had to be a few years ago now. It had to be going back to, it had to be like, I don't even think it was 2024. It had to be like 2023, a couple of years. We've been out here for a little minute, yo. I remember we were starting a new year. And I remember feeling like for so long we had been really dancing around confronting the sort of like religious fascism in our lives. And I felt like for so long, like we just danced around the issue, and I just wanted to tell people like, no, this is the year we have to take that step. This is the year we have to be bold. And I called it, this year I'm pushing the button. And what I meant by pushing the button was like we keep avoiding calling out the religious fascism in our life and really, really having the type of resistance we really need to have. And so I said, this is the year I'm pushing the button. And by that, I meant like, this is the year I'm asking you to go there. This is the year I'm asking you to, anybody you could talk to. Friends, family, significant others, people you connecting with on Tinder. I don't give a, like, it's time we recognize that it's time we recognize that we don't have time. It is time we recognize that we don't have time. And I'm sitting back like thinking, remembering that and thinking everything has gotten so much worse. and so much more dire. Not to mention they trying to revisit us with them problems. Like, I was reflecting on the fact that I said that as a person who was sitting in my place alone and had been living in complete isolation for years because I'm at high risk for severe outcomes from COVID-19. So even this past year of like moving to New Jersey, having a normal job, teaching on campus, and, you know, just being out, going to the grocery store, going to the pharmacy. Y'all, I hadn't done any of that shit since early 2020. None of it. I was living alone, isolated, had everything delivered. Even when I got a postdoc at the University of Minnesota, I stayed in Michigan alone, isolated. Did all my work remotely. So this was like literally the first year of like even being in the same space of other people. And it was like such an adjustment. And literally Trump is trying to like get rid of the fucking COVID vaccine. Like, cool. Cool, why not? Why not? With everything else we got going on, why not? Let's just have another pandemic. Why not? So I'm sitting back and I'm really thinking about a lot of the conversations we've been having lately. And ostensibly, a lot of the conversations, are things that y'all would think I'm excited about. So, I'm reflecting on like, Drew's video about, the debates are making things worse and, all of that. And so now we're trying to have the conversation, like Ember stream earlier, let's have the debate about having debates. And I know Ember's conclusion was kind of like, which is fair, which is fucking fair. This is about where I'm at with most of this shit, to be honest with you. But there's something else that struck me about all this that I really wanted to touch on. And it feels like, y'all, we have lost our way. And I want to start with hanging an asterisk in I say asterisks. I always thought it was asterisks. I don't know. Now I'm saying this is asterisks. Whatever. Y'all know the star thingy. I don't know if it's the C sound or the S sound. Somebody tell me which one is right. So I want to lead with a bit of empathy. I think a lot of us have to really reflect on the fact that we come out of what we're fighting against. I'm going to say that again, y'all. We come out of what we're fighting against. That doesn't describe all of us, but it describes a lot of us. And it's sometimes hard for us to see all of the ways that all of the indoctrination, all of the cult activity and lifestyle and community that we were engaged with, oftentimes well into adulthood. One, it's hard for us to really see all that was taken from us developmentally. I mean that sincerely. I'm 39 years old. I feel like I'm learning things in my 30s, going to learn things in my 40s. I could tell you about just some real stuff. Like even just my relationship with my parents and how to talk to family members and how to advocate for myself within, just within, trying to navigate relationships with family and friends. Like I literally feel like I'm just learning things that honestly I should have learned as a teenager. But I wasn't in the right culture to learn basic coping skills, and the people around me, they didn't have those skills either, so they couldn't teach me what they didn't know. And then also I think so there's a developmental debt that I think a lot of us have. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it as an acknowledgement of very real trauma and real loss, a real deficit. And then I think also we don't recognize the ways that we've been indoctrinated into a status quo. And so even when we go to resist, even when we go to fight, the tools that we reach for and the conversations that we have, they're sort of already framed by the other side because they've told us what's acceptable. And in the process, they've made us feel like we have to fight, but we can only fight in certain ways. And and a big part of it is we prioritize comfort and civility. We prioritize our comfort and their comfort. We don't want to have confrontations and we don't want to be confrontational. But what the fuck are we doing, y'all? And the feeling really is like the title of the stream. The theater's on fire. And when I thought of that cliche, actually, I stuck with it because it's crazy old, but it's so apt because I think a lot of it really is. It feels like being in the theater. It feels like we're living through this fucking moment. This is our lives. We're not, just witnesses to what's happening in the world. We're facing the dual challenge of being the victims of all of this shit and just trying to survive it. At the same time, we're tasked with participation and we're tasked with fighting for whatever little autonomy we have. And even as our autonomy is disappearing and our autonomy is being so reduced, it is our task to take what little autonomy we have, even as it's sliding towards nothing, and use it to fix this shit. Because we all we got. There ain't no fucking God out there coming to save our asses. And we're supposed to be the motherfuckers that know that. So when I look at this, yeah, Ember is still a part of the show. So it's like this is all happening to us. And at the same time, we're supposed to be finding our agency to construct a different reality in all of this. And at the same time, it feels like we're passive observers. It feels like we're watching all of this happen. And then given the change, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody. I literally think our exchange culture is different now. We don't get together physically in the town square anymore. The discourse now, and it's not even like it used to be where it's like you read it in the, like now we watch things and we consume social media and we produce social media, and so we're consuming this and then we put out there, right? And so in a real way, these platforms that in a sense are shows and in a sense are entertainment, and it's one way they're distractions, but in another sense, like that is also the medium through which we facilitate our really meaningful exchanges. And people can say what they want about go out and touch grass and talk to your neighbors and all that. That's cool, but there ain't no fighting the the way technology and social media has like changed everything. So, but that does contribute, right, to the feeling that we're watching all of this because we consume our information and share our perspective literally through watching and being watched. So that reinforces literally why I say, like, no, let's call it the theater, because it feels like we're, but now, right? But now when there's a fire in the theater, all of a sudden it's not about the show on the screen, it's about survival. And all the exits are closed. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is it feels like all of this, the hype, the shit that people said was, oh, you're being hyperbolic. Oh, we were, fantasizing about our woke, our worst fears because we were living in a woke fever dream or whatever the fuck. No, all that shit's happening, and we've gone way past that. In fact, shit's way worse than any of us could have ever fucking imagined. And so that's the theaters on fire part. But all the exits are closed is we're doing this thing to ourselves where we're looking for a pure way out of this. And every which way we turn, we find something to nitpick or be dissatisfied about with regard to a particular strategy of engagement, literally to the point of people deciding that we need to abandon that shit altogether and not do it anymore. But when you do that enough times, how the fuck do we get out of here? That's what I mean when I say all the exits are closed. That's also what I mean when I say that when I'm thinking about the mission statement, when I'm thinking about what I'm supposed to be, what am I doing in this space with this channel and in the community, it's like my audience is my audience. I don't have to tell my audience who they are, but I'm trying to remind others in this space that, like, when I say my audience is my audience, what I mean by that is I could sit here and talk about the other side all day long. The truth is the other side don't really listen to me like that. The truth is I don't really have a ton of friends that's on the other side. The truth is the only sphere of influence I think I really have is influencing the people who I'm in community with. So in a sense, our side is my target now. When I talk about the shit I think is going wrong, I'm talking about the shit I think we are fucking up. I know what I think they're fucking up, but I think they're fucked up. And I ain't got no damn influence and reach on them. So they're the opposition. They're the, they're the thing we're trying to combat or survive or however you want to put it. But the motherfuckers that's supposed to be helping us survive, that's supposed to be on team, that's supposed to be making us stronger, it's like all that shit is getting fucked up. And so to me, we have to get now real critical about what people are telling us to do and not do, and who is telling it to us. So to give you like a short version, and then we'll dive into it a little bit deeper, it's kind of like every approach we go to, people don't like it. So, okay, like the big debate we're having is debates. Should we have debates? Okay, no, we shouldn't have debates anymore. Like, okay, I'm cool. Like, we're gonna come back to it, of course. I'm gonna talk more about it. But it's like, okay, the debates didn't really work out. That really wasn't a good vibe. That didn't help us. Okay, like, the other side gets wins out of that, whatever. Okay, cool. Don't do that anymore. Fine. All right, cool. All right, well then what about like, just like directly, calling motherfuckers out and doing and saying what needs to be said and what about the hard way? Well, no, don't do that. Because you don't want to blow up relationships, and you don't want to us versus them mentality, and you got to meet people where they're at, and you got to have their values, and people don't call them out. That's not going to help them. They're not going to change if you do that either. Okay. All right, cool. Well, what happens when we sit down and just have polite conversations about it? Well, that doesn't really seem to work because then they don't really change, or they don't really listen, or they keep coming back to these bad arguments and these weak arguments. Okay, all right, we won't do that. All right, then people keep telling me, No, you got to build relationships, and then you do it through, you know, personal relationships and the private conversations. That way, you know, there's no social pressure and da 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 da. Okay, cool. Do y'all have those conversations privately? Because mostly what I hear is people having excuses why they don't have those conversations. And they keep telling me they don't talk to their friends and family about this shit. And they don't talk to the people in their lives about this stuff. And they think they can't really go there with these people and can't really talk to them about it. So now we're trying to really get them off of their religious lifestyle and the choices and decisions they make. But we gonna do it without actually talking about their religion and their beliefs, because we want to focus on just making them do social stuff about it. Oh, okay, cool. And then when you do have the conversations, you say you don't go there with them. You say you don't call them out. You say you don't want them to feel uncomfortable. Okay. Okay, what do we do? Oh, let's build some organizations and let's support our clubs and let's make our own clubs. All right, well, first of all, we ain't got that many of us. Why is everybody making their own fucking, like 17 different fucking organizations and clubs? They all thin as shit. And then why they all be the same demographics, all look the same. And then they always end up having the same goddamn problems. Always end up secretly co-opted by conservatives and centrists and right-wingers, and then the enlightened centrists roll in, and the next thing you know, the board's gonna be complaining about gender ideology in the goddamn op-ed. It is all so utterly fucking predictable. Well, we got to get, let's find good candidates and da-da-da-da-da, and then Mamdani fever happens. And literally everybody's like, nah, that's not going to work. Nah, we'd never go with that. Nah, we can't do that either. That guy's, he's a fucking socialist. No way. No way. And then we got Bernie Sanders literally still on tour. Just literally still on tour, just slandering Kamala Harris's good name for apparently no good goddamn reason. It just gets to the point where it literally feels like there's no way out of here. Why don't we just all sit here and prepare to die? I'm tired of this shit, y'all. I'm just fucking tired of the shit. And I feel like we've outsmarted ourselves into compromising with people who don't compromise. We are dealing with religious fucking fanaticism run amok. And low key, I don't even blame fucking MAGA for being the reason why we're here. I blame the average, quote unquote, reasonable, moderate, sensible American who played footsies with fascism, invited it into our fucking living rooms, and now that it is standing on our neck, doesn't really want to get it off of our neck because it'd have to push them or upset them. It would upset them to tell them to, like, y'all, we are literally in the ISIS snatching people up and sending them, deporting them to fucking El Salvador or alligator Alcatraz. Pick your poison, I guess. Like, Trump literally deployed the National Guard to take over DC, and apparently other conservative states just started voluntarily just offering up their fucking local military as well. Cool. Great. Awesome. Like I said earlier, they're trying to get rid of the COVID vaccine. Cool. It's basically just illegal to be trans. I don't know how else to put it. It's basically just illegal. Not only is it illegal to be trans, it's also supremely uncool to say anything about, the problem of it being illegal to be trans. Like, apparently that just makes you woke and irritating and annoying, and we shouldn't talk about that. Y'all, I'm done with this, y'all. We know these are the adamantly bigoted people. And I don't want to, even those that, I think a lot of us has made too many compromises, y'all. Even that progressive Christianity bullshit, y'all, that shit just has me so fucking irritated. Like, come the fuck on. Come the fuck on. We all know how real Christians get down. They won't shut up about it. Everything is about woke people. Everything is about queer people constantly. You know good and goddamn well when somebody even fucking speaks up about their religious freedom, you know you need to bet on black. It's like 90% plus chance what they really want to do is get on top of the goddamn table in the middle of the cafeteria and talk about how homosexuality is a sin. And the fact that they can't do that is a threat to their fucking religious freedom, because that's what that means to them. We know every motherfucker that says family values literally just means I hate gay people and a woman's place is in the kitchen. Can we stop with the bullshit, please? Because as a black American, I know what the coded thing fucking really means. I'm not an idiot. I'm tired of having my intelligence insulted. I'm not here to sit here. I'm not about to sit here and talk about the rationality, the reasonableness, and don't even say the word science out of your fucking mouth of these motherfuckers who want to tell us some fucking Jew died thousands of years ago and hung on a cross and then was dead for 3 days and rose and saved us from sin. From the God that drowned everything on the fucking planet and then promised to do the next time by fire. Sorry, I'm sorry. Sorry. Hi, my name's Jay Bundy. I'm 39 years old. I'm a grown ass man. We're not finna play this game. And just if you believe that, literally, listen. You cannot prove to me how genuine and serious and sincere you are about your faith without also convincing me you are commensurately lacking major shit as a functioning adult. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. I really do. I'm gonna give you an example of what I say when I mean that in the nicest way possible. I was watching a video online the other day. It's a woman going on vacation, and apparently she's lost a child. Imagine it's a young kid. And she asked that son for like a sign that he's with them on this vacation. So she ends up in the gift shop with her kids and other children, and she's drawn to a rack of toys for children, and I think her son liked giraffes or whatever, so she grabs the toy giraffe, and turns out it's one of those GPS plushies or whatever, and you follow the thing and you can track it wherever it goes on its adventures or whatever. And you know, they get home and they're playing with the thing or whatever, and then one of the kids comes to the mom and says, "Oh my God, the thing's origin date or whatever is I guess the deceased child's birthday." And you know, she just breaks out in tears, and you know, that was her sign that her son was with them on that vacation. Very touching story, cute, and all that good stuff. Just thought to myself, this is what the problem is. We this is somebody who has not been able to deal with this loss. So someone who is processing this and really doesn't have what I would consider, like, you know, and who does? There's no handbook on how to mourn the loss of a child. But my point is, these are the type of things that are robbed from us by people who won't let us cope with our lives in reality. This is what happens when you live in a society where you're not taught how to deal with reality on reality's terms. You form grown individuals who literally don't know how to deal when tragedy strikes. I'm not trying to make fun of this individual at all. I don't know that I would deal with it any better. And we all look for those signs and those things that you know, that way to stay connected with loved ones, because you know, it's just so hard to accept that we won't see them again. But my point is, we need to learn that. We need to have healthy ways to cope and process and accept and understand. That is what helps us live and make the fullest of our relationships with people while they're still here. And at the same time, learning how to appreciate and value them, and all of that, you know, when unfortunately, um, the memories are all that we have. Uh, but I'm just so sick of seeing people not having the tools we need, not having what we need, whether it's economically, socially, politically, or just psychologically and emotionally. And I understand that a lot of people don't know any better. I understand that a lot of people don't understand the things we understand. But that's not us. We do supposedly know better. So what the fuck are we doing? I got to be honest with you. Sometimes I literally ask myself, like, what is the point? Like, what is the point of being a scientist in a world where people literally don't seem to care about the truth? And what the fuck is the point if the people who know the truth are so afraid of the people who won't confront the truth that they just, like, they won't even they won't. That's why, honestly, a lot of what happens in this space now, I'm not even listening, because all I hear is fucking atheists making excuses. That's all I hear. It really is. I'm just being honest with you. I just hear a bunch of atheists making a bunch of fucking excuses because they don't want to have uncomfortable conversations. Y'all know what the fuck we dealing with. Stop playing. This is that is narcissism. Like, and to see it and understand it and then to do it anyway, it's like, y'all, I hope you don't really buy into the mask. Right? You have to understand that the charm, the good friendly Christian neighbor, the smiling, like all of that shit is a mask. I had to ask, are y'all dumb enough that you just really buy into the mask? And then think about like the shit, like the love bombing and all the shit they do. Like even that rhetoric of, this is what I mean about us sometimes having the indoctrination. Like, you know, they always talk about loving everybody. Oh, I love everybody. And you'll hear Christians, oh, I love everybody. Da 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 da. The fuck out of here. What the fuck is you talking about? What the fuck is you talking about? Say that shit to me on Tinder. Oh, I love you. Bitch, I don't know you. I just met you. Why do you think it's okay for them to just walk around talking that day about loving everyone? That shit is weird. That shit is fucking creepy. That shit is fucking creepy. Love takes some fucking time, some investment, some getting to know. You don't know me. And then it turned out the motherfuckers don't love nobody. You dumb as hell. Like, yo, like, oof. Y'all don't even really want to get me started. These motherfuckers don't love anybody. Because what they think is love is all about obligation, and it's all about their fucked up manipulation. And then you realize they really love you to audition for God. So really they're parenting the way God would have them parent, and they're being a faithful spouse the way God would have them be a faithful spouse, and all of that shit. And then just reveal yourself to be a person outside of that God bubble, outside of that God delusion, and see what happens then. Oh, well, then that's how they really feel about you. That means the shit in your shit was very conditional. I'm gonna tell you a couple things. I brought up Drew, so let me get some of that shit out of the way while we're here. And again, it's not necessarily to pick on Drew personally, but it's to draw us to a finer point. So whatever, it just is what it is. But some of this is gonna sound harsh, but I just, it's important that this is important. Fuck it. Where's this important shit, y'all? I got time to worry about motherfuckers' feelings. When I sit back and I look at this debate about debates, I'm gonna just be real with y'all about a few things. All right. So first off, I do think it's important that we're very critical about who we engage with and how we engage with them. Okay? But to me, it matters who has what perspective and why they have that perspective. So for instance, when I hear people critical of the debate scene, I'm usually a fan of that. A lot of the shit that we see is fucked up. To be honest with you, it doesn't necessarily make me think we shouldn't have debates. It makes me think a lot of times the debate itself is fucked up. Maybe the platform the debate is on is fucked up. Maybe the format of the debate is fucked up. Maybe there's something about the audience or the situation of the whole debate that's super fucked up. Sometimes that's the problem. A lot of times it's who's debating that's the problem, the title, all that shit. And in a lot of it, it comes down to the fucking people involved. It comes down to the fact that I want to say a lot of times it's like, no, see, the truth is the reason I was against a lot of these debates and a lot of these people debating was because y'all just wasn't doing it right. I didn't think you did a very good job. I thought you accepted a bad framing, spent the whole time bootlicking, was suckered into making the whole thing about a fucking sideshow or something that was irrelevant, didn't really bring the smoke to your opponent, didn't really hold their feet to the fire about any of their fucking problematic fucking behavior or associations, didn't really take the opportunity to try to speak to the audience, to cut through some of the noise, to really play on the consciousness of the audience, to challenge the audience about their association with these problematic people. Basically, I just think you suck at it. I just mean that in shorthand. I could use fluffier words, but at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. I just don't think you're very good at it. It's not your fault. Sometimes a lot of y'all just don't. You don't have the perspective that I think one would have to bring enough weight into those circumstances with you. And that's another problem. Is a lot of these dudes like. I'm sorry, but these dudes, like, I value the contributions that they've made. I don't want to say like, I don't want to come off as totally shitting on these people because, I think they're good at what they do. They're good at producing content. Their content is great for what they're great at, which is, totally being engulfed in the world of religion and apologists and believers and, being able to like counter their arguments or whatever. Like, I know that stuff's important to people. And, that stuff has been important to me at different times in my journey, because I think people do. I think deconstruction, and deconstructing your faith and all, I think that shit's incredibly important. So I don't really want to undermine that in any way. But what happens is I think a lot of these guys, they build up platforms, they build up audience, and now they're going through different changes. They're in a lot of it is applauded because a lot of them, they're moving in the right direction socially and politically. If you go from being a fucking far right fascist, fucking, uber conservative, fundamentalist, whatever, and now you're like, like a liberal and progressive, and you're a secular humanist, and you're becoming aware and understanding of oppression and different shit like that. Like you on that woke path or whatever. Bravo, kudos. You're not doing anything wrong. But what might happen and what I see happening is you've been really good and authoritative in your analysis of religion, and now I think there's like this assumption that you bring the same weight to your critiques of social and political or whatever. And then I think since the audience is built up there's a certain authority with the audience, and so that just kind of transfers to, oh, so and so is making social and political content. I generally like agree with most of the content they've made so far. When I hear them talk about those things, they're always like on the same side I am, or I ostensibly agree with their takes or the things they have to say. So it's natural that kind of transfers because, of course, you're going to enjoy that content. You're going to enjoy, seeing them on their journey. You're going to enjoy that they're finally speaking out about these things. Like, all of that is totally understandable and legitimate. And again, people should do it. And again, let me be clear, like, social media, I see YouTube as social media. All this is, I don't want to sound like a gatekeeper. Like, you don't have to have expertise or something. Like, I always remind people, I'm old enough to remember when YouTube started. Y'all remember what YouTube fucking motto was or is or whatever the fuck? Broadcast yourself. That's it. So you're supposed to know what time it is when you're on YouTube. You were supposed to know what type of timing you were on. The thing is just broadcast yourself. The idea was YouTube. YouTube. Dad's idea was to turn you into a channel, you into a network. You know what I mean? So you have to understand that, like, it's just everybody. It's just the open space. Anybody can broadcast. Anybody can be on it. So I don't fault people for that. That's the name of the game. That's what the platform is about. It's opinion. It's personalities. It's whatever type of content people want to make that other people find worth consuming. It's all gravy, baby. But when you are into certain cultures or certain spaces, you know, as you spend time in those spaces, you learn to get critical about what's going on in those spaces, right? If you consume any gaming content, you already know if you tune into the stream of a pro gamer, it's going to be a whole different level or type of conversation than if you're talking to somebody who just plays the game as entertaining versus if you're talking to somebody who's not even really a gamer and is just dabbling, right? Like it's a different thing. And so a lot of these guys, like, it just is like, for me, like, they don't have the real background in organizing. They don't have the lived experience of oppression or marginalization. A lot of times they don't really have much in the way of formative education, right? Because a lot of these dudes, like, their formative years was spent in that cult preparing for a life as a preacher or a minister. And I'm not shitting on you, but you got to understand, when you start coming over here talking about social political issues, you're talking about people who have inherited this shit through the generations, have spent their entire adult lives involved in, you know, social organizations and nonprofits and really working with elected officials and all of that shit at a high level. And then motherfuckers got educations and they, you know what I'm saying? And they done been teaching and shit. Like, hold on now. You know what I'm saying? And obviously with a lot of that stuff, I could speak to my own experience like that. But that is what it's like. And then it's kind of like, man, when I'm looking at this person, I'm like, yeah, they're on the right side. Yeah, they're moving in the right direction, but they ain't ready to be driving. Matter of fact, they looking a little young. They looking a little fresh face. They need to get in the goddamn back. They need to get in that manual. Get ready to take that written test first. Get you a little permit. Then you need to be driving under very strict supervision. You understand what I'm saying? And then we got to make sure your ass can parallel park. You understand what I'm saying? See, that's how we treat shit in life that comes with real weight and real responsibility, though, right? That's really all that is. All it is saying, like, driving is some serious shit. You could fuck up some shit that is very expensive when you behind that wheel, and even more than that, you can severely hurt yourself or another person or end a lot of lives with just one bad decision. So yeah, before the state says that you have permission to get up there and drive and you navigate on your own with freedom, we're gonna have to pull your car, we're gonna have to check your knowledge, then we're gonna have to make sure you've gotten your mentoring time in, then we're gonna have to make sure that when you come across the real challenges of the real thing, that's the hardest to do safely, we're gonna have to make sure you can do all of that. Very strictly. Very, very strictly. Okay, so now we just have to put them two things together. Yeah, them safeguards ain't in place on YouTube. Them safeguards are not in place on YouTube. So anybody that is willing to opine about something and you are willing to go with their opinion, that's all the authority that they need. So we have to be a little then more critical of, like, okay, who's telling us what and why? So with a lot of this, like, oh, you know, the debates are a waste of time, I don't want to hear from some of the people that's been saying it. You know, when I have my like I said, when I have my conversations again with who I consider my people, it's coming from a different place. We have disagreements about strategy. We have disagreements about strategy. But there's a difference because, one, there's a shared understanding of the urgency. There's a shared understanding of the lived experience. There's a shared understanding of what our values are. There's a shared understanding of what the priorities are. So I'm a center of my marginalized people. We know that. So now we can have a difference in conversation. Oh, I want to engage in this with this person like this, but what about this? Would it be better to do that? Okay, cool. Because we know why we're having this disagreement. And at the end of the day, we are amenable to, different strokes for different folks, a diversity of strategies. We like, the superheroes. We all got a different little superpower, and then when we come together, we gonna make Megazord and tear this motherfucker up. That's cool. But when I look at it, it's certain people who's telling us we shouldn't really be having a debate, but I don't know. They kind of made a name for themselves off of building that culture, and they've made a lot of ducats for themselves playing that game. And now they stand to gain in this new direction they going. And when I'm listening to why they saying we should go into this new direction, it actually sounds like a lot of personal grievances and a bit of a rug pull. A bit of debates were cool for me, and I was able to use debates to get to where I'm at, and I've gotten a ton of exposure. Now I've gotten nearly 1 million subscribers, and I know I was doing it in a way that wasn't really working, and I was kind of being a bit of a sucker, and I got manipulated and played and turned and twisted around. And now them same people that I was fucking playing them games with, they coming for your ass. And you can't really just not engage the motherfuckers, because for you don't engage with the motherfuckers. Don't matter, they gonna keep rolling over your ass anyway. And now I've normalized engaging with them. Now I've made it so that the meta is you have to engage. I've made it so everybody's talking about, no, we got to talk about this. We gotta have our ideas exchanged. We gotta have the conversations. Y'all have literally spent years telling us to conversate with them people, be nice to them, show them our evidence, make sure we tell them all our arguments. So now you've shifted, you've moved the Overton window to a place where I have to not, being a black man is not enough. I now have to make an argument about why another motherfucker should care. And now, as soon as we start to say, well, maybe we should engage with them differently. Actually, you know what? Maybe we should call them little dick fuck faces. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Because now the left is going all of a sudden, maybe we should be calling Trump Cankles McTaco Tits. Oh, now we finally getting into the Cankles McTaco Tits era. All of a sudden, y'all don't want to have debates no more. All of a sudden, don't go talk to him now. Nah, don't go. And it's just tough. It's just kind of like, oh. Yeah, ostensibly, I'm with what you're saying, but I kind of don't want to hear from you. I kind of don't want to hear from you. That's just me being real, y'all. Because it's not the same thing. And then when I'm hearing the motivations is off too. Like, oh well, it sounds like you're just upset. Like it sounds like this is personal. It doesn't sound like this is principled. Then I'm really listening, and it's like I'm not really hearing a better alternative. So I made notes, y'all. Y'all, I really got some shit on my mind if I grab a fucking pen. That's when you know it's one of them days. You know Jay really on one today. He grabbed a goddamn pen. Okay. There's certain things that I want to highlight about the meta. I don't want to feel like I'm picking on Drew, but there's going to be good examples. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Drew from Genetically Modified Skeptic made a video called Why I No Longer Debate the Other Side, or so. I don't know, y'all. Most people know. If you haven't, just you'll find it. All right. these points, you don't really got to watch it to understand these points. There's just certain things we need to acknowledge. Okay. Number one, the other side knows what we're about. This one, I will admit, is a bit of a weird one. Because in some sense it is a good, I think it's actually sometimes it could be used as a strong argument to not engage, and I guess I feel like it was kind of a missed opportunity. But I'm kind of taking it in a different direction. What do I mean by that? A lot of times the people that we're actually engaged with, the ones who are willing to engage, that's important. By this I mean the apologist, the YouTuber, you know, the person that's always in your comments, the person calling in the shows, you know, the people that engage, right? A lot of times they know our arguments. If you watch sort of the beginning of Drew's thing, right? He's talking about Sean McDowell, and he's showing that Sean McDowell does the like fake, I'm gonna pretend to be an atheist. That way he can like groom his audience about how to deal with atheists. And he'll say a lot of things about like problems in the Bible. And it really shows the depth of depravity of the other side, because all of that engagement, what I'm arguing, I'm not arguing that the debate itself was the problem, but I'm arguing that it was sort of stupid for you to play naive as though they didn't know those fundamental things. I always say part of it is not that you didn't engage with, the problem isn't that you engage with the other side. The problem is that you treated them like they were stupid. And to me, a lot of times that's because the person on our side engaging wants to maintain a certain naivete about the audience. It's comforting to believe the audience doesn't know about contradictions in the Bible. The audience isn't aware of the fact that the Bible endorses slavery or whatever like this. But in reality, what it shows you is that they know. And they know that you know. And they know that that is part of your case against them. So now, when you don't go there, when you won't bring it up, you allow them to do it for you, which allows them to go, you know, and groom people on how to defend against it. But it really strikes me in a lot of these things that we treat the other side like they don't understand our arguments. No, trust me, they already know. All right, let's move on real quick. Keep that in mind because it's important framing. They're also aware of what we think about the harms of their ideology. So again, in the video, Sean primes his audience to say, oh, the Bible, you know, it's full of bigotry, it's full of genocide, it's full of slavery, it's full of misogyny, and all that stuff is terrible. So what's pissing me off is that it's like y'all won't talk about those things. Y'all won't hold his feet to the fire over these things. But he knows that that's how we see his faith. And he knows that we know all of that shit is in there. And a lot of the problem I have too is like, this is where you see, I think there's too much separation. Like we try to basically say, oh, there's apologists and professional religious liars and religious extremists, but then there's the pew fillers, and there's just, you know, the good Christian neighbors and the good people, and they don't have anything to do with it. And I think that separation is fucking killing us. Because the truth is, like, it's always been for them, like, they're the same. And when you really get down to it, they have no other choice. How do you think they live their religious life? They live their religious life under the leadership of a pastor who probably, who we definitely know, gets a lot of the nonsense he spews from that pulpit on Sunday morning directly from apologists. And then that same intellectual basis, I should say intellectual in air quotes, is the same shit that's used to justify the policies and the politicians and the political campaigns and Project 2025. And so we like to tell ourselves that our neighbors and coworkers are really not apologists. But if you ask your neighbors why they're Christians or why they vote the way they vote or why they are the way they are, they're going to go to their faith. And then they're going to have to defend that faith. And so what are they going to come to you with when they try to figure out how to defend that faith? Ding, ding, ding. They're going to come to you with apologetics. There's no other alternative. But it makes us feel good to think that we're dealing with the big bad apologist on the internet. And then when we deal with our friends and coworkers, we don't got to really challenge them or make them uncomfortable because they're not the fuck-faced apologist on the internet. Now they happen to be the motherfucker buying the fucking apologist books. And you go upstairs in their damn study and look at what's on their damn bookshelf is just apologetics. Let's figure out what they're listening to and around to work on Sunday morning. You know what I mean? It's just, we got to stop making that distinction. Another big problem I have with a lot of this is, and it's something Drew did say, so I'll just put it out there. But a lot of people are on this tip, and it's very profound. Something we need to think critically about. He said, part of his mission and his goal for his content and his channel is to undermine the framing of Christian versus atheist. Because this framing or this whatever, it's what divides families. So we want to undermine that. We don't want it to be atheists versus Christians. And if we're going to be honest, a lot of people in our space are on that tip. Here's my honest reply to that. You don't get to decide. You don't get to decide. We are under fucking attack. And you motherfuckers know it. You know the goddamn framing of the religious is they are at spiritual warfare. Now, I'm going to tell y'all the same shit I used to talk about in my community organizing talks. You can't fight a war on drugs. You can't fight a war on terrorism. Wars are fought by people against other people. So when someone is at war, yeah, you need to understand who the fuck they're at war with. And those people are against each other, because that's what the fuck war is. And I'd like to congratulate you on your beautiful, privileged fucking life. Because if you can afford to love your enemies, you don't have any real fucking enemies. If you can afford for a motherfucker to be warring against you, and you can say, I would like to set that aside. I'd like to set that a framing aside because I don't want to be divisive. Motherfucker, you are, congratulations, you're incredibly privileged. And I mean that, congratulations, because it must be nice, it must nice to be that safe in the world. It really must be. But this is the challenge to a lot of us, y'all. What the fuck are we doing? We are letting these people literally make spiritual warfare their entire identity and then acting like we don't understand who that spiritual warfare is against. And you know it's atheist. You know it. I'm gonna give you the same fucking math, y'all. Here's the math. You know them motherfuckers are anti-LGBTQ. You know they are the core motherfucking mothership, goddamn bedrock foundation, home base of queer bigotry. They've literally made it their whole identity. And it's a few funky ass fucking passages in their fucked up ass scripture. Book, biggest, fucking huge, one of the biggest, mostly for most people, the Bible's the biggest book they'll ever fucking look at. It got a few funky ass passages about queer people. Literally millennia of oppression. Millennia of oppression all over the fucking globe based on a few fucked up ass passages. Now go back and count how many verses compared to talking about queer or LGBTQ talk about the godless, the heathens, the enemies of God, the motherfuckers who mock God, all of that bullshit. Do the math. What's the passage count? Y'all understand what I'm saying? The shit about LGBTQ people, that is literally a footnote. Nevertheless, global oppression for fucking millennia. Fucking up the enemies of God is the fucking central theme of the story. The whole book is about the enemies of God get fucked in the end. That's the actual moral of the story. So imagine being one of these godless people and acting like you're safe with these motherfuckers. Can you, that's what we're doing, y'all. And then when some of us are really like, no, I'm fucking done. I fucking had it. We have atheists jumping in front of them to protect the fucking Christians from the fucking atheists. What are we doing? No, we don't want to ask them to change. No, we don't want to ask them to leave the faith. No, we want to speak to their values. What are you talking about? If that is your fucking attitude, like I said, the theater's on fire, all the exits are closed. We literally might as well sit here and enjoy our fucking popcorn while we die. Oh, you want to live? Then we need to kick the fucking doors open and fight, motherfuckers. I'm tired of it. And I'm not, and I say kick all the doors open. All of them. Yes, there's a place for debate. But you don't go into the debate and hope to make friends. When you do that, your ass gets benched. When you go on the debate and then it's all about building your platform, benched. Go on the debate and let them distract you, talking about philosophy and scripture and what's the definition of bad and where do you get good without God and what about the argument from contingency? Benched. When you go in there, kick them motherfuckers in the teeth, tell them they're traitors to their goddamn country, tell them they're criminals, tell them they're lying to the people, show the people in their audience against their will that they are in fact being fucking lied to, remind those people that they had some conscience and they had some humanity, but that they're overlooking genocide and bigotry and prejudice and racism and colonialism and call it the fuck out. And yeah, if them motherfuckers leave and run off the stage or drop out of the StreamYard, who gives a fuck? Job well done. Yeah, you ain't gonna get invited back. And you're gonna make some people uncomfortable. But that's what the fuck it takes. So the debate is not, having a debate is not good or bad inherently on its own. It is what you fucking do with it. And most of y'all suck. That's why we don't like your debates, because they're trash. That doesn't mean debates can't be good. It just means you're not good at it. The other thing is the platforming conversation missed me with that shit, because most people are missing the conversation. Platforming is somewhat connected to normalization. They're not the same thing, but they're related, and that's largely what the issue with platforming is, that you normalize fringe ideas, right? So platforming is like, yo, these fringe weird people, nobody even fucking knows about them, okay? But you got an audience of millions of people, or you're tapped in the cable news at night, or you're, some big time fucking celebrity. You had these fucking weirdos on. Now all of a sudden people is looking into these weirdos, right? That's what that conversation was supposed to be about. Y'all, that whole shit has gone so far off the fucking rails. People don't even know what the fuck they're talking about anymore. First off, you are not platforming somebody who's got literally 200 to 2,000 times your audience size. Not even close, not remotely, not never. That doesn't make any sense. Second of all, these motherfuckers are already platformed. And look at all of the platforms. I don't give a fuck if you're talking about the newspaper, the radio, the cable TV, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. Y'all, they're all of them shits is captured by conservative money and interest. And they always have been and always will be. Always. What are we talking about? Oh, well, like that whole analysis. Oh, well, Bill Nye debated Ken Ham, and then they raised enough money to build the ark. Motherfucker, they was going to eventually raise enough money to build that goddamn ark. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you, but what do you think? Ken Ham is just the type to say, the fundraising's been a little bit slow. Can it? Get real. That ministry was growing. It was going to do what they was going to do regardless. And on top of that, if Bill Nye didn't do it, somebody else would have done it. Dawkins would have done it. Hitchens would have done it. Whoever the fuck would have been around and available at the time and thought they could do a good job and benefit from it would have done it. And Bill Nye did about as good of a job as pretty much any human walking the planet could have done. So, and for a lot of people, it was a victory. I could tell you right now, again, I was in grad school at the time, literally for evolutionary biology. So I can give you the hardcore reaction of professional evolutionary biologists all over the fucking place. No consensus at all. None. Not a bit. Some people thought it was the greatest thing they'd ever seen. Some people thought Bill Nye smoked them. They enjoyed every bit of it. They wish he could do more. Y'all forget that shit brought Bill Nye back in the game. Y'all forget Bill Nye got a whole ass late night show on HBO after that shit. Get the fuck out of here. That's the game, y'all. You can't cover something and not give it attention. You can't cover something and not talk about it. So the platform is already there. The audience is already there. All we can do is all we can do, y'all. And if your idea is like they're going to get an audience or they're going to raise money, that's what they do. Y'all, even the clip I showed y'all at the beginning of this stream, boom, right here for those of y'all that missed it.
There's 1,000 of you. I said close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. There's 1,000 of you. I said close them doors.
All right, now let me show y'all something else on YouTube. Look at this, y'all. What is that? Close the Door by Marvin Sapp. Hang on a second. Oh, y'all, I'll show you something else. See, they have the comments turned off on YouTube. But they didn't turn the comments off on Facebook. Sir, you have the victory. That song is genius. He gave you a song in the midst of your pain. We serve a God who restores and takes what the enemy means for evil and turns it around and uses it for our good and his glory. His breath is definitely on this song. It doesn't just minister to you, but to all of us who need to, quote unquote, close the door on anxiety, fear, discouragement, pain, and words spoken against us. Hope thou in God. Stand strong and move forward. Your latter will be greater than your former. Grace and peace, y'all. Do you understand what I'm getting at, y'all? Marvin Sapp took that viral moment that was supposed to be embarrassing as hell. He was talked about like a dog all over the internet, church circles and not in church circles. And what did that motherfucker do? He said, shit, let's get up in the studio right now. We'll record, close the door. And what did the fucking dumbass Christians do? Ate that shit right on up. Okay? So let's stop with that. That's just what they do. Yeah, and they got a cult of dumbass followers, y'all. That's that. But see, what it should really be showing us is the urgency, the direness of the situation. Again, it should be showing you that there's a fire in the theater, y'all. Because it doesn't matter how much you embarrass them publicly. It doesn't matter how much they look like fools in front of reasonable people. It doesn't matter how well Bill Nye tears apart creationism. And that should give the rest of us some urgency about taking this shit down. That we can't keep being orderly. That we can't keep these motherfuckers comfortable. But instead, we're like, nah, let's just not engage. That's not the answer, y'all. So then, okay, so that's the debates. Well, it's like, y'all, that's just that one door. But we're also not, to me, we're not doing what we need to be doing socially and politically. And a lot of it is because a lot of us don't really want to come out as atheists and really speak to the times. I actually think that's our power in this moment. Our power is to say, no, I'm an atheist. I got no stake in this Christo-fascist fever dream. None. And the crazy part is, this is why I hate to say it's a lot of this is like, man, it's crazy because it's like, all right, here's how it really feels, y'all. Like I said, a lot of y'all really need to center marginalized people. A lot of y'all, it's on y'all to figure that out. Go back to the analogy of driving. That is how you get into the manual, right? Before you take that written test, you got to study. You got to do your homework. Y'all remember? Y'all anything like me from Pennsylvania, dog, yo, you can't do shit without driving. So getting your license and getting your car and all, getting driving, that shit is life and death, because your social life is just not going to be right till you could drive, right? And the difference between your social life before you can drive and after you can drive is no comparing the two. So we all know you can get your license when you turn 16. So you have to get your permit then at 15 and a half. So 15 and 6 months, you got to take that damn written test. That way you could have your 6 months, and when your fucking birthday hit, you ain't behind. You ready to go. Birthday, you gonna have your driving test like that week, like you know what I mean? Like the week, like really, like right away, because you timed it, okay? And so you in there getting ready for that written test. Because you ain't going, because if you fuck up that written test, it's gonna fuck up your schedule, your timing. So that's y'all getting into your study, getting into your books, doing your history, doing your learning. You've got to really understand now you've been part of something monstrous. And unfortunately, the people that you were so comfortable othering and ignoring your entire time in that whole thing you coming out of, yeah, they've always been taking the brunt from these people. And so our story, it is what you just need to understand. It is like you do just need to learn it so you know what the fuck time it is. But it's also going to be the blueprint for you. Because you can't keep centering the status quo as a means of reform. That's doesn't work that way. But what's crazy to me is it's like people come out of that shit and they see it. Like a lot of them do start to see it. Like, yo, that shit was, man. Like the lady on Life Take Two. Damn, I think her name's Jenny or something. She's so good, so good. She's like, damn, like I really was like full on MAGA. I brought into this white supremacy and all this racism, all of this fucking misogyny. And she is coming out swinging, right? She's trying to warn everybody, like, dire, like, y'all, like that shit racist as fuck. Like, y'all, that shit is not good for women. Like, she's really trying to help people. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you need that. And so recognizing that we've always taken the brunt. And now you people see that. But I think what happens with a lot of people, y'all, is unfortunately there's some mix there, right? In our space, a lot of the people that get platform and get big voices and big channels, especially in this secular space, are white liberals. And there's a bit of a mixed inheritance there. Because as liberals and people who were like going through this awakening and this growth, they're trying to become agents of change. They're recognizing the problems of the status quo and ostensibly are on our side about change. But the problem is that that status quo is very seductive, especially if it has personally come with privilege for you. And so even the civility, people don't even realize the way our government is run and, the way we're taught about civil discourse and how to go about making change in society or what democracy looks like. And, a lot of that has been programmed into us by our oppressors. And so now you have people who are trying to create change, but they can't help but fall back on, I want to create change in a way that's still comfortable. I want to create change that in a way that doesn't threaten me or doesn't threaten the people, that are like me. And then a lot of y'all suffer from compassion poisoning, which is my nickname for what it's like when, because of your background, you identify more closely with the oppressor than the oppressed. You've recognized that your far right conservative uncle is in fact racist and that their ideas are in fact harmful to marginalized people. But since a couple years ago, you sounded exactly the same way. You are more concerned that we try to get through to him in a way that doesn't make him too uncomfortable, because you're like, well, I used to be that way and I didn't want anybody to call me a fucking asshole. Yeah, but the truth is you probably needed to have your ass cursed out back then. I say that to people all the time. Like, well, I was that way. And then, and a lot of us was skating on a lot of bullshit back then. And yeah, maybe a lot of people should have stepped to us, but they didn't. And we got lucky and we went on that path on our own. And then what happens is, even though you see that marginalization, you see that oppression, it's easy to distance yourself from it because it still doesn't really apply to you. The shit about race doesn't really apply to you. Shit about queer people doesn't really apply to you. Maybe a lot of white liberal women are out there, so that shit does get to them and they do get a little up on them issues. But even that, a lot of time there's a certain sanctity. Hey, we could, get down with that a little bit. So it becomes a problem. So then what happens is the atheist thing should be the deal sealer. That should really be what aligns our communities. Shit, y'all. I don't know what it's like to be an immigrant of color up in this motherfucker, but look, I realize now, yeah, I used to be like one of them, y'all, but shit, I'm a secular humanist now. I don't believe that stuff anymore, and I see what the writing on the wall is. They have nothing better for me than they have for any of y'all. And I think you will find most marginalized people meet that with love and acceptance. Look, ain't none of our struggles the same. Ain't none of our struggles the same. And I try to say that all the time. You got a whole space for everybody. Because I can't tell you what the immigrant experience is like. I could tell you it's fucked up and it's not right, but I can't tell you what it's like because I haven't lived it. I can't tell you what the LGBTQ experience is like. I could tell you it's fucked up and I'm not going to stand for it. But I can't tell you what that lived experience is like. So none of us are trying to say our struggles are the same or our struggles are equivalent, but we should all recognize that we got the same fucking target on us. And that's enough for most communities to move in solidarity. But there's a huge but, which I'm totally going to disregard to say, what up, Robin? But no, seriously, there's a big but. And that but is there's a huge difference. And the difference is they've always been really, really great at making sure the center of the target can't hide. At least not easily. At least not easily. You can't really live your life and be queer and us not notice. Because your shit gonna be different. You can't hide being black. You can't. It's really tough. Can't hide, your accent or having a different culture and all of that stuff. But you can hide being an atheist. And so you do. Because it's just fucking easier. And I would like to say, how dare you? Because again, you're supposed to be growing in this awareness. You're supposed to be looking at the struggles of black people and saying, I know they can't hide. You're supposed to be looking at the struggles of LGBTQ people and being so fucking moved. We are seeing ungodly, just record legislation. I just can't, like I said, it's basically illegal to be trans now. And given the size of the population versus the amount of effort that's been put into oppressing them, the ratio for LGBTQ people, especially trans people right now, is off the charts. I think there's literally like 15 laws for every trans person in America. That's how fucked up the ratio is. There are states that got like 30 trans laws about trans athletes. They got 2 trans athletes in the whole fucking state. There are literally states that have made laws against trans athletes with 1 trans athlete on record. Just think about that. That's literally like personal oppression. At that point it's like it's like, fuck you. This is the anti-Ember Bellrad law. Like, what are we doing? And you're supposed to see that despite that, them motherfuckers is coming out swinging like a motherfucker, are they not? Tell you like we say around here, trans is beautiful. Are the motherfuckers not showing out? Are the motherfuckers not showing out? All of that shit they don't want them doing. In the bathrooms, on the athletic fields, in the halls of Congress, out on the streets, in the pride festivals, and then got time to be at your shit. Ain't a goddamn Black Lives Matter protest that's ever happened without the LGBTQ community being right the fuck there. Either side by side or standing the fuck in front of us, making sure shit don't happen to us. ICE ain't going nowhere in LA without that community all over them. Nowhere. So how do you then see this? Know the same people coming after you for being an atheist with the same energy, and then you just gonna hide and be quiet? How do we justify that? How is that okay? That's what's confusing me, y'all. And at the end of the day, it just feels like we don't have the courage of our convictions. That we have psyched ourselves up into some other game, that we're playing with them people, again, wanting to keep them comfortable, so we're willing to compromise our own humanity in the process. And again, we don't have time. Again, the shit is already here. So it's emergency, y'all. All right, I'm gonna hit y'all with something else that I think is really important in this conversation and gets overlooked and doesn't get talked about. And I hope it challenges the excuse making in our community a lot. And that is simply this: when you think about prioritizing the comfort of our oppressors, instead prioritize their consent. See, one of the things I really took from Uncle Bobby is Uncle Bobby's job is to teach women how to fight so that they don't become victims. And he has taught us the 4 telltale signs a professional uses to diagnose an abuse victim. 1, the belief that your abuser is omnipresent, right? So this shows up when a woman needs to go to self-defense class, typically a woman, and can't do it in her hometown. So she's like in the next county over, right? And she's like, covering herself up and in disguise and always looking around, and can't pay for her self-defense classes on her credit card, like needs a friend to do it, right? Because she's got to hide the transaction, really, because in her abuser is everywhere, following her transactions, she don't know, right? Second thing, the belief that your abuse is your fault, right? This is the joke Uncle Bobby's always making. Well, he did tell me that he wanted 3 ice cubes and I put 4, so I guess it's my fault. He fucked me all the way up. Well, he did tell me to have his shirt ready for his morning meeting and that he had a really important meeting in the morning, and then I took too long when I was making breakfast, so I didn't have his shirt ironed when he woke up. And number 3, the belief that if your abuser does not get to you, they will get to your loved ones. What, bitch, you think you safe? I know where your sister lives. I know where your mother goes to church. I know where your children go to school. As a matter of fact, I know the path they walk home from school every day. You don't think I'll get to you? I know how to get to you. Just got to get to them. And number 4, the belief that you find your sense of purpose and meaning in your abuser. Well, without him, we wouldn't be a complete family. And I've never been the type of woman that believes in divorce. I'm just not that way. I'm the type of woman who, when things get hard, I'm gonna be there, and we're gonna work this out. There is not a single one of those things that does not apply to Christianity. And then Uncle Bobby always teaches us a very important lesson, which is that no matter what, you never validate the abuser to the abused. You never validate the abuser to the abused. You never validate the abuser to the abused. That means you never say, well, Christy, I know what a great lover he is, and I understand that it would be hard to find that type of intimacy with another man. Well, Jenny, I know he's a really good soccer coach and that you love the way he participates in your children's life and all the other children's dads think he's so wonderful. I know that makes you feel like you're with a really great man. Nah, bitch, I'm like that fucking, them little old school dolls used to pull them shits and they only had one line. Yeah, every time you pull my string, I say, fuck him, he puts his hands on you. But Jay, wind me up again. Fuck him, he puts his hands on you. But and and oh my god, this and crying about that and pull my string again. But fuck him, he puts his hands on you. You see the difference? So part of what my feeling of we've lost the plot is we treat believers like they consented to this shit. Like they agreed to be fucking lied to as kids. That they agreed to be indoctrinated as children. That they agreed to be lied to about the origins of humanity and their own goddamn heritage. That they agreed to be lied to about how planets are formed and where the fuck the oceans come from. That they agreed to be lied to about their need for sin, that their obligation of sin or whatever the fuck it is, and that they need salvation. And that if they don't get it all right and all perfected by their final moments, there's an eternity of hellfire that awaits them. And only those who were great get to be part of God's chosen club and live forever. And that they should forsake their autonomy. They should forsake the only lives they will get to live on earth. They should forsake their actual natural inheritance. And I say this, we all have the same natural inheritance. What do I mean by that? We all get that one fucked up equal thing. We all get one human life. It doesn't mean the same thing for all of us, doesn't come with the same privileges, doesn't come with the same resources, doesn't come with the same opportunity, can't come with the same time window. None of that shit is the same. But there is that one equality. We all get precisely one human life sampled from the range of whatever the fuck that one human life might be. They did not sign up to forego that for some archaic bullshit. Now, is it just me or is it 2025? And we're trying to actually listen to victims. And we're trying to stop victimization, especially the victimization of children. And we're taking consent seriously. I don't see it, y'all. I think we dropped the ball on that one. And I think it's a very, very uncomfortable conversation to have. But I'll tell you what, if you're someone I love, I'm willing to have it with you. They ain't all open to it, but if you're open, if you'll open them ears, I'll open this mouth. I think your autonomy has been violated. And I don't think you agreed to any of this. So y'all have to decide for me. You have to decide for me. Are these people the agents of our oppression? In which case, they need to be fucking stopped at all costs. Are they the baddies? Because if they're the baddies, it's time we act like it. And if you insist that they're not the baddies, and they're not the problems, and they're not the fucking terrorists, and they're not the oppressors, then they are the victims too. And isn't it time we start acting like it? All right, y'all. I love y'all to death. I had some shit on my mind I really wanted to talk about. It's definitely some more, but yeah, this is the direction I'm thinking in, y'all. And it literally just starts with, like, I think we need to have the courage of our convictions. I think we need to stop with the tap dancing and the cartwheel and the back flipping, and it's time to stand on business, speak our truth, live our lives, fight for our friends. We deserve it, y'all. Again, that one equality, that one human life. And the hardest thing for me to understand about that, the hardest thing for me to understand about what it means to be alive, is that my life matters just as much as anybody else's does. My safety, my autonomy, my freedom, my rights, my happiness, all of that, it doesn't matter more than anyone else's, but it also doesn't matter less. All right. I love y'all. Y'all already know. Thank you so much to the mods. Thanks to everybody in chat. Y'all, the comments, I read comments. The comments feed me. Like, I love reading the comments. Also, some of y'all are double dip duty. Y'all be in the live chat and in the comments. I love it. Please leave me a comment if you watch later. Like the video, subscribe to the channel just so you get the notifications and all that. We'll be here. Discord is the way to stay in touch with us asynchronously, and Gather is the way to hang out and link up with the gang in real time in our virtual headquarters. Also, there's a link in the description to show some love to Lina. So we're definitely still trying to get some support together for Lina. So if you can contribute to that, I'd really, really appreciate it. Otherwise, yeah, thank y'all so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. I know some of the things I said tonight were probably challenging. I know not everybody's gonna agree. That's fine. Y'all challenge me too. I'm here as a result of a lot of the growth that y'all have helped me with. So we'll stay on that journey together. I'm not against anybody. I love all y'all. We're all just trying to help each other. So thank y'all for listening.